All right, fourth graders, we are on Unit 4, Week 1, this week for our vocabulary. So you can get out your word collectors and be ready to learn 8 new words this week. Our story this week is called The Case of the Gasping Garbage. Our first word is beakers. The scientist measures liquids into these beakers. Okay, so what do you think the word beakers means based on this picture and also based on the clues in the sentence? The scientist measures liquids into these beakers. So beakers are thin glass or metal containers used for pouring liquids in laboratories. Okay, so in that picture, the scientists had many different beakers in front of them that were glass. And he was measuring out liquids in a laboratory. So what types of jobs might require people to use beakers? Okay, what kind of jobs require people to use beakers? So when I think of beakers, I think of scientists. I think of maybe people in the medical field, maybe like nurses or doctors might need to use them. Scientists. Our next word is analysis. This graph is part of an analysis of a country. Okay. So look at this picture. You can see that there's a calculator there. There's a graph. Okay, that shows a lot of different data points. So what do you think analysis means? An analysis is a careful, detailed examination. So here's another picture of people who are doing some analysis. So you can see they have a lot of different graphs in front of them, a lot of different data and information. So think about what analysis might a detective do at a crime scene. So remember, analysis is careful, detailed examination. A detective at a crime scene might have to analyze or do analysis of the surroundings, see if there's any clues, any DNA, and examine the different things in the crime scene. Our next word is precise. A sentence using the word precise is, you can use a ruler to get a precise measurement. So what do you think precise means? Precise means very definite or correct, exact, and accurate. So very definite, correct, exact, and accurate. So I'm wondering, are these actions precise or not precise? So measuring a distance on a map with your thumb. Do you think that would be precise or very accurate or exact, or not precise? I would say that measuring the distance on a map with your thumb would probably not be very precise. It wouldn't be very exact or maybe very accurate. What about using a stopwatch to measure a runner's time as 29.92 seconds? Do you think that'd be precise or not precise? So I would say that this would be something that is precise. It's very accurate, it's very exact and definite. So using a stopwatch to measure a runner's time would be something that would be precise. Our next word is identity. A name badge often gives information about a worker's identity. Okay, so you can see in this picture, someone working in a store, you oftentimes will see that they are wearing name badges or name tags, and that helps people know their identity, that they work there, and also what their name is. So what does identity mean? Identity means who or what you are. So that picture of the worker, they are a worker and it gave their name. So that's part of their identity. That's who they are and kind of what they do. So identity means who or what you are. So I want you to think about which of these things are a part of your identity. So as I look at this list, I would say part of my identity is being a girl. I'm a daughter. I am a sister. I'm not a student, but I am a teacher. Okay, I was in high school, I was an athlete, and I would consider myself a reader. So these are there's many different things that make up your identity. This is just a list of a few of those. So which of these things do you think are part of your identity? Our next word is relentless. The dog is relentless in its pursuit of a rabbit. Relentless. So you can see this picture of a dog. Its head is in a hole, looking for or hunting for a rabbit. So what do you think, based on this picture and based on the sentence, what relentless means? So relentless means to not give up. So that dog was relentless because it was not going to give up on finding that rabbit. So here's another sentence using the word relentless. We begged to be allowed to stay up, but the babysitter was relentless. We begged to be allowed to stay up, but the babysitter was relentless. So think about what other word could be used instead of relentless in this sentence. I think of the word persistent. Maybe that's a word you've heard of before. We begged to be allowed to stay up, but the babysitter was persistent. Okay, which is kind of a synonym for relentless, means to not give up. So maybe your parents are like that too, when you want to stay up, but they are relentless that you have to follow your bedtime. Our next word is microscope. This girl is using a microscope. Okay, this might be a familiar word to you. So think about, what does microscope mean? A microscope is a device with lenses for making small things look larger. So if you look at these pictures, there's some pictures of microscopes. So there's lenses on a microscope that help make things look larger. So maybe think about what types of jobs would require someone to use a microscope. Right away, I think of scientists. They probably use microscopes very frequently. I also think of maybe doctors or people in the medical field that maybe are doing research about different diseases or sicknesses and things like that. They would definitely need microscopes. Our next word is hollow. These pipes are hollow. So if you look at this picture of these pipes, it says that they are hollow. So I want you to look at this picture and think, what does hollow mean? Hollow means something empty. So those pipes in that picture, they were empty. There wasn't anything on the inside of them, so they would be considered hollow. So why is a hollow tree likely to fall in a storm? There's a picture right here of a hollow tree. The inside of that tree is empty. So why would it be likely that a hollow tree would fall in a storm? Right away, I think about how a hollow tree is probably going to be a lot weaker than a normal tree that is not hollow. Okay, if there's nothing in the middle of it or it's an empty tree, it's probably not going to be very strong. And our last word this week is our 8th word, and it is lecture. Teachers sometimes lecture to their students. Lecture. A lecture is to teach by giving a planned talk on a chosen subject. So lecturing is something that's a lot more popular, like in college, maybe even a little bit in high school. Not a lot of lecturing really happens in elementary school. But a lot of the times they'll happen in big lecture halls that look like this one in the picture, where there's a lot of seats and you can fit a lot of people in a lecture hall. So what do you think that a student should be doing during a lecture? So if the teacher's up front and they're sitting in their chairs, and what do you think they should be doing during a lecture? Usually during a lecture, it's the student's job to be taking notes, whether that's on their computer, on their iPads, or just paper pencil. But usually during a lecture, you take notes in order to stay engaged and contain and get that information that the teacher is telling you. All right, kiddos, that is our last word for this week. There's 8 total words this week, so hopefully you got all of them. Remember that you can go ahead and rewind and re-listen to different parts of this video to make sure that you got everything you needed. Thanks for being active learners.